Hi, friends. Welcome to this latest iteration of the membership where I am going to take an opportunity to tell a few stories from my past. Instagram obviously kind of limits how I can share on there. It is not kind to the idea of me talking about sex or sexual experiences without getting me shadow banned. So I figured I would just start a little storytelling experience here. I feel like everyone and their mother has a podcast, but sometimes it's just helpful to listen to other people's experiences around all of these different matters because we carry so much shame when it comes to our sexuality and our sensuality. So I think I'm just going to give you all a greater glimpse into what led me to where I'm at right now. How did I get here? What are the things that I went through? And I'm just going to be as open and honest as humanly possible. So I'll try to keep these all bite-sized so you have an opportunity to just kind of like listen to it perhaps on a walk or on your commute to work or something like that. But I feel like human connection and hearing of other people's stories has helped me heal and move forward in a lot of different aspects in my life. So perhaps this will be that for you too. What better place to start than in the realm of my first sexualized experience, right? So I feel like losing our virginities has been something that at least we talked a lot about back in the day. And I think there's kind of a new framework around how people are choosing to do that now, which is wonderful. But, back when I was 15, I certainly was not. Thinking about anything other than sex. I had read about it in enough magazines at my weird little like pharmacy job. And I was like, oh my God, I need to experience this. So I remember, I think it was an art class. My best friend in high school and I made a pact together that we were going to lose our virginities by the age of 16. Can you imagine? Like, look at 16-year-olds now, and I'm like, oh my God, what was I doing? So listen, I can honestly not remember how old I was when I lost my virginity. I do know it was either 15 or 16, certainly around that. I can't remember if I won the bet or not, but I know my friend definitely did because she hooked up with my prom date. So, um, man, what a time. All right, so let's go all the way back to upstate New York, where I originally have this experience with a man on a mound of dirt at, I think it was a homecoming game. I think it was the only football game that I had ever gone to. And we have this like movie picturesque experience where we are just making out on this like baseball mound of dirt and it was hot and wonderful, except for that my judgment has always been pretty poor. So when that man became like kind of infatuated with me, which was really sweet, and he's a wonderful human. I still know him. I was really turned off. I didn't know what to do with the nice guy who was pursuing me. So of course, instead I was like, no, 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 no. Let me discard you. And we'll get into a later story with that friend group at a later date in time. But it eventually led me to this individual who was so intoxicating. I was absolutely enamored with this human from the first time that we ever interacted, to the point where I convinced my mother that he was going to be my math tutor since I wasn't allowed to have guys at the house if she wasn't around. Meanwhile, my parents are going through an awful divorce where my dad cheated on my mom with my childhood best friend's mom, who was also friends with it was messy. It was messy, messy, messy. So moral of the story here is that our house was chaos and there was not much parenting happening. So it was very easy for me to ship this as this gentleman who we'll call Steve. Steve was my math tutor and I was very bad at math. So I think she was like, yes, no, please get help. We love this. Steve and I never did math together. We never cracked open a book. He would come to my house. We would go downstairs into the basement area where I lived, and we would just get hot and heavy. He was my first everything. I felt so incredibly safe with him. We would talk on the phone all the time. We had a super deep connection. I was just moved by him in so many different ways. And I was so excited to be introduced to sexuality in this way because I did feel safe, because he made everything seem very approachable. He was a little bit more advanced than I was, so he could teach me some things. And I had been watching porn since I was 11. So I was like, okay, listen, I know what to do, but I don't necessarily know how I'm supposed to do it, how my body's supposed to be. I had severe body dysmorphia from a very young age. So I always felt like I was too big to to be in any sort of sexualized scenario, even at the age of like 15 and 16. So my little slutty self was all in on exploring things with him. And we eventually got to the point where we're like, oh my God, like, I think we should have sex. I think this is what should happen. So we made this whole elaborate plan. We both were snowboarders and we went to this mountain that we all grew up going to. And I was at ski club with my high school and we would meet up and just, make out on the ski lift, have all this fun. And he came and he parked his car and he was like, "Hey, I'm in the parking lot, like, come." And I was like, "Oh my God, am I about to have sex? Is this gonna happen? Is it supposed to happen in a parking lot? What am I doing here?" And I was like, "Screw it, let's go. Let's see what happens." And so I lugged my snowboard out to his car. I found him and we got in there. And I swear to God, this man wasted no time. I was in like full head to toe snow gear. My board was leaning up against his car. We just started ripping everything off and really going for it. And now listen, Steve was very well endowed. Okay. I didn't know about all the different, penis variations that I was going to explore later on in my life, but this man was well endowed and it was pretty intense. So I was like, how is this ever going to fit in me? The girl who can barely put in a tampon, huh? We figured it out. He had a condom, and it honestly felt like Play-Doh smushing into something. It was the least sexy thing of all time. I think he was like very excited to be having this experience, and I was just kind of in my head. And I think this was probably the beginning of where I started to live in my head rather than in my body. And I was like, okay, I guess we just like pretend that this is awesome. And I just mimicked what I had seen in porn and was like, okay, let's go. I was not ready to be penetrated. I didn't know that there was a time period that I should be paying attention to before I was penetrated. Nobody ever talked to me about, my anatomy or my sexuality or anything of the sort. So there I was. It was probably all of 4.5 minutes in the back seat, I think of like a Mazda or something. And it was messy. It was gross. It was not pleasurable. And after, he concluded, which is also how I thought sex ended, was that the man came and then it was over and then you just went back to your lives. We like emerged from the car and I realized somebody had stolen my snowboard. So as I'm losing my virginity, my snowboard gets stolen. What the heck? I lovingly, had to go back into the mountain and like file a claim or something. But I was like, wait, I'm basically a new person. I am highly sexual now. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I cannot wait to have sex with this person again. Right. And now at this rate, we continue to connect. We continue to talk all the time. But a phenomenon that I would experience many more times over my life is that once you have sex with someone, they were seemingly no longer interested in me in that kind of way. However, the story took a quick turn because I then found out that the person that I lost my virginity to had a girlfriend. I was a mistress and I didn't even know it. The amount of time that this person spent texting, calling, showing up, spending time with me never led me to think that he had somebody else, let alone have me think that I was the side piece. So turns out they had been in a relationship for many years. And here I am coming in and ruining everything. So my first sexualized experience was in the back seat of a dodgy car at a snow mountain where my snowboard got stolen, where no pleasure was happening for me, where I realized that maybe not everything can fit inside my vagina and also that I am a mistress. So very little version of me was baffled and scared and embarrassed. And guess what? I told no one. I told no one of what was happening internally for me. And that's when I learned how to shove everything deep inside this emotionally wise body of mine and to suppress everything. So three cheers to making a pact with my best friend in high school to lose our virginities at far too young of an age and to offer myself up to somebody who wasn't even my boyfriend. The therapy that I had to go through to start to, fix that and come to terms with everything. Deep and robust, that's for sure. Pun intended. So, I wonder, what was your first sexualized experience? If you want to share it in the comments, send me an email, shoot me a message on Circle or an Instagram, anything. If you want to connect, you want to have a chuckle, I'm 1000% here for it. But I haven't heard of many experiences with my female and vulva haver friends where their first sexualized experience was everything. I think we really build it up to be something that it should be bigger than it is. And then when it isn't, there's kind of a lot of feelings of, oh no, was that it? Did we do it right? Did I enjoy that? What do I need? And Listen, I had no idea that those questions would continue for another decade plus. So I am grateful that I can look back on this and kind of have a giggle and also realize that like it started to build up a lot of my insecurities with my body and the way that I was being perceived by men. And it was a great opportunity for me to continue to realize that there's going to be deeper work needed down the line. But I hope that that brought a little bit of a chuckle to you. I look back on this fondly now, and listen, that I think that kid still follows me on Instagram, which is hilarious. I've written him into many a poem and have dragged him, from here all the way to Indonesia in my slam poetry. So blessed be the artistic moments that, continue to push us forward and allow us to stay connected. I'll see you next time.